Hi folks, so I was going to do a video today on Uranus and Taurus because Uranus is in Taurus for another 6 odd years, and I was going to do a video because yesterday's new moon was conjunct Taurus, and I thought it would be a perfect segue to talk about this. But sometimes it happens after I do a video, I sit around or I'm taking care of some business and other things come and pop up. And I realized that I had more to say about yesterday's new moon in Taurus. And since it is not even 24 hours, it feels fine to go ahead and put that in there. And there was something about the process that was also very Uranian. And I thought, why don't I just share some of this information with you? And we can be done with this, and I can do my Uranus and Taurus video in the next couple of days. As we discussed yesterday, the new moon is conjunct the planet Taurus, which means the new moon occurred yesterday at about 3 degrees of Taurus, and Uranus is at about 6 odd degrees of Taurus. So they're very close together in the way that we would see Uranus and we would see the new moon, or where they are in the sky. They're very close together from the way we would perceive them. They're of course not that close together. Uranus is out there. And as we discussed yesterday, Uranus, on a personal level, it brings meanings of liberation to some extent, but common words that are used are awakening. I like to use the word epiphany, and I would like to use the word liberation. Authenticity somewhere behind there. A lot of people refer to it as a planet of sudden events, earthquakes, lightning flashes. Really, for me, as I mentioned yesterday, it is a highly intuitive planet in a certain sense, and it is a mind-expanding planet. It is a planet of quantum leaps of understanding, quantum leaps of moving towards a certain kind of authenticity, truth. And typified by what we would call aha moments. You know, you're going about your business and you're doing whatever, and clarity comes to you, and clarity of a kind that is not mental, that is not by you applying your brain or your energy to something as much as it is by your brain or by your soul figuring something out, almost like it's given to you, and you have experienced this epiphany. I liken it to sitting and putting in a lot of focus on trying to solve a particular puzzle, and then all of a sudden you just get it. It just comes together, and it's not by you mentally solving something. Now, Uranus, as I was going about my business after the video yesterday, there were a few things that popped up, and I just found it very interesting that I'd done a new moon video in Uranus. It's not like this doesn't happen to us often, and it's not like it hasn't happened to me before, where I've done a video and I felt, oh, I need to do a part 2, or I need to do an addendum. But there was something about the process that just was demonstrated to me clearly that this is how Uranus works. I've done the video, I've uploaded it, I'm going about my business, and then there's, aha, oh wait, there's this, and then there's this, and oh wait, there's this also, that, oh, and there's this. And it doesn't come from me sitting and thinking, oh, I did a video, did I miss anything? It just pops up. It's like these little bubbles that appear. It's very Uranian, very Uranian. And as I mentioned, people who are highly intuitive in a certain way often have strong Uranian placements in their chart. Okay. That's enough of a recap from yesterday. I'll do more of a recap as we get to the end of the video. The one thing I did not do yesterday was talk about rulerships of the new moons and the full moons, and I've been doing that more and more, and I find that a valuable exercise. So the new moon is in the sign of Taurus. Taurus is ruled by Venus. Venus is currently in the sign of Gemini, a highly social, data, information, conversation, interaction driven sign. Some of our experience in terms of relationships and money, even during the time of quarantining, you know, coming through social encounters. But I've already done a couple of videos on Venus and Gemini, and I'm going to do one more on Venus before Venus goes retrograde, so that's not where I want to focus. What I do want to say is that Venus is in a sign of communication. And so it could be that wherever this new moon has occurred in your chart, wherever Taurus sits in your chart, it could be that if there are things that awaken or expand your ability, or it could be that communication plays a role in it. Emails, phone calls. It could be very much that technology plays a role in it. And that has something to do with the fact that Venus, the ruler of this new moon, is in a technological sign, and also Uranus is a planet of technology in an even bigger way. So technology features heavily with this new moon. And let me just keep going. So Venus is in the sign of Gemini, automatically gives social conviviality or social data, friends to some extent, colleagues, networks, friends and networks, technology. I'm just throwing out these kind of keywords with this new moon that occurred yesterday at 7:27 p.m. on April the 22nd. And I talked about sudden events and awakenings and epiphanies and expansion, perhaps, and liberation. So just I'll keep adding some more keywords to this. Venus is in Gemini. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is currently in Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars is currently in Aquarius, and Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and Uranus. So Uranus plays a massively important role with this new moon. Not only is the new moon conjunct Uranus, Uranus is also one of the dispositors of this new moon. Ultimately, the chart currently, at least the new moon aspect of the chart currently, is under Uranus and Saturn's control. Saturn is in Aquarius, its own sign that it co-owns with Uranus. So the idea of disciplined hard work, Aquarius is a sign of discerning application of knowledge and technology to benefit humanity. Whether it is scientific breakthroughs, medical breakthroughs, technological breakthroughs. Very often Aquarius is grouped together with unconventional behavior. And it's not so much unconventional behavior in the Age of Aquarius hair concept. It's unconventional behavior in its discernment. It is people with strong Aquarius placements often are extraordinarily annoying to deal with. They're the kind of people who just like, prove it, show it to me. Really, I don't, it's the butter doesn't melt quality, and that's both Saturn and Uranus, but especially Saturn operating there. It's this butter doesn't melt quality, but it's very much focused on what there's a fixedness to that sign. It's a fixed sign. There's a fixedness to that sign, and Taurus is a fixed sign. There's a fixedness to that sign and a stubbornness to that sign, and fortunately a sense of humanitarian or group betterment to that sign. And it's not a sign that is swayed easily by niceties, and it's not a sign that is swayed easily by bullshit. And even the kind of bullshit that makes people want to kind of gloss over stuff, that where people are getting stuck and kind of move on to something more convivial, and Uranus is like, no, let's go back to that point. The fact that Saturn and Uranus are dispositing this chart is relevant for two reasons. One, as I talked about the pandemic in general, there's something about this particular lunar cycle that does, again with Saturn in Aquarius, require a certain amount of disciplined hard work and discernment when it comes to finding medical or technical or scientific solutions to benefit humanity in some ways. With Uranus's involvement, then there's the question of awakening and epiphany and liberation and freedom. I've also mentioned that if, insofar as Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn are involved with the pandemic, there's something about this that carries on for much of the year. But I've also said, let's wait for the next 28 days and see what starts to open up and how, if anything, or at least if we're given a clearer, more rational, more fact-based, more scientific sense of what liberation will look like through this process. On a personal level, it will help you to know where Aquarius sits in your chart. Saturn is there briefly till the end of June. Then it goes back into Capricorn, and Saturn is here with Jupiter in Aquarius in a big way starting December of 2020 and really in 2021. Saturn, of course, remains till 2022, but Jupiter's there for much of it. Well, let's just say that Saturn and Jupiter enter Aquarius in December of 2020 and really take hold at that time and into 2021. So this theme of conscious and disciplined humanitarian activity that is underpinned by discernment, we're getting a taste of it, but it becomes an important theme starting next year. Uranus is in Taurus for the next 6 years. And Saturn and Uranus it isn't exact yet, but next year, one of the big astrological news items is going to be the fact that Saturn and Uranus are in square with each other. They're at 90 degrees to each other. It's not a comfortable angle. But it's an important transit for next year, where a planet of restriction and holding on to things in fixity, Saturn, and Uranus, the ultimate planet of not holding on to anything and letting go, and, well, not the ultimate planet, but certainly an important planet of liberation, come to odds with each other. The funny thing is that Saturn is in Aquarius, the more unconventional sign, and Uranus is in Taurus, the more conventional sign. So there's an interesting, there's something very, the roles are reversed. The planet that would typically want you to stick to the conservative is seeking foundation building and concrete results in an unconventional sign in discerning ways that benefit humanity. And the planet that typically, because Uranus co-rules Aquarius, and the planet that typically stands for it finds itself in a slow and steady, wins the race, I will keep things as they are, I will move at my own pace, Taurus. So you might think, certainly, a battle between change, liberation, and holding on comes into play in earnest next year in some interesting ways. And it's interesting for so many levels. Taurus is a sign of the planet Earth, and yet it's a fascinating aspect. The two rulers, dispositors of this new moon, are a little bit in odds with each other. And so the battle between the revolutionary aspects of Aquarius, where Saturn finds itself, and Uranus, the planet involved, and the conservative aspects of Taurus, the sign in which this new moon occurs, and Saturn, the planet that is involved, are at play. And they could be at play in our lives insofar as we're feeling the need to innovate in a disciplined and concrete manner and get to work in innovative ways and move forward with our lives in concrete ways. And yet at the same time, we may find that there's a fair amount of resistance within us to change our routines and accommodate that kind of change with the speed that we would like. Taurus, where this new moon occurred, is very much a sign where, Taurus is very much a sign. I'm so sorry. There's a parking lot below. Oh, they're gone. Taurus is a sign where, you wake up in the morning, someone with a strong Taurus placement is like, no, I'm going to first have my glass of water, hot water with lemon, then I'm going to make my cup of coffee, but the cup of coffee is going to be drip coffee, and I'm going to add some cinnamon. I'm going to follow my routine. Then after I'm done with the coffee, I'm going to eat some fruit. And then after I eat some fruit, I need some protein or I need some carbs to kind of fill my stomach up. But I'm going to wait 20 minutes between one and the other. Then maybe I'll check my email. Then I'm going to cook myself some lunch. Then I might go outside and enjoy nature. Then, and here's Uranus, which is just like, let's go, let's liberate. So you have this very plodding, very luxuriating, very comfortable, I will move an inch a day sign in which this new moon has occurred. And yet the dispositors are both placed and struggling to create change. You're going to have to find, you're going to have to, if you already know, and this is what sheltering in place or quarantining would be good at anyway, if you have a sense of on a personal level what changes you want to make that make you more productive, and get you going, and that are concrete and feel kind of scientific. It's not woo-woo stuff. It's actually, I'm going to do this, I'm going to organize this. You're going to be at odds a little bit with the need to kind of take it slow and steady. And I would encourage you to innovate. I would encourage you to innovate. I would encourage you to innovate. So find a way to balance and please that inner child side of you that only wants to move at a certain pace and is finding it very, very difficult to make the routine changes that accommodate that kind of innovation. I have a client who last night texted me with something that she had launched, technology-wise. And this is where I had my other Uranian epiphany. God help us all. Because whatever was launched, first and foremost, this person had their new moon in their career house last night, and it was conjunct Uranus. And of course, like it is for all of us, and Uranus is a planet of the internet, technology. And so a lot of the, whether it is on a global level or whether it is on a personal level, a lot of the innovation that we stand to see may have a technical element to it, may have a web-based element to it. Ultimately, I'm going to start wrapping up here. Let me see if there's anything else that I want to mention. I want to talk about the rulership. I want to talk about Uranus and technology, and the fact that if epiphanies and awakenings and sudden events are going to occur, they may have a strong communication component, which makes sense. You're sheltering at home. It's not going to happen any other way. See, someone's going to have to make that phone call. Someone's going to have to send you that email. Someone's going to have to, lightning is going to have to strike from somewhere. Yeah, and this technology component. Whatever act or aspect of liberation, of epiphany, on a personal level and on an overall level, that this new moon cycle tries to bring over the next 28 days, but in the next week even, in the next 48 hours even, may have a communication element to it, and just see if it has a technical element to it. On a global level, what becomes interesting is, and we are already seeing it in play and in action, I just expect it to increase and become even more useful in a social and humanitarian way. Notions or ideas of liberation or humanitarian solutions and epiphanies. What role will technology play in as far as those epiphanies and that information is concerned? We'll see as this month rolls on how technology continues to play a role in obvious ways disseminating that information, and whether it ends up being used in unusual and unexpected ways, unusual and unexpected being Uranian words, in ways that we can't quite predict yet, again a very Uranian feature, as solutions and ideas are introduced with regard to how we can come out of confinement. Okay. There. Now I feel complete about yesterday's new moon and Taurus video. New moon occurred. Next 48 hours or so, just pay attention to it. If anything subtle and unmistakable, comes to you or is introduced, or you introduce something, like my client did, in the part of your chart where Taurus sits and what that house stands for, and if it has some sort of a technical or communication element, or if something comes or occurs that has kind of a sudden lightning flash, epiphany, liberation kind of element to it. Pay attention to the fact that you may be in a place where you are ready to get moving on certain things, and that may well be the new moon acting and wanting you to get off and innovate something to move you forward and liberate you from the rut of your routine. But you will find resistance in your routine, and I would encourage you to go after that innovation. Sometimes new moons bring things from the outside, often they do, but sometimes it may just be that you look back at this new moon and you realize that this was the new moon when you reorganized your office in a way that made you more productive and created the epiphany, created the quantum leap to be far more productive and start to get things done. Subtle, unmistakable things. In the case of my client, it was subtle perhaps, but not that unmistakable. So it might be an action that comes from you that is pent up, that requires a dismantling of something to innovate it and to introduce some new blood and suddenly change or want to change something environmentally, and just pay attention to the resistance there, but try and ride through it gradually and gently so you can actually put it in place. You may find that it pays dividends. You may find that it pays dividends in terms of your own productivity and how it liberates you to get certain things done or achieve certain things and move forward in certain ways. Okay, there's going to be more on Uranus next. If you found this video useful, it's hard to look at this video just in isolation without looking at yesterday's new moon in Taurus video. So I'll make sure that both videos link to each other once I'm done processing them. Feel free to subscribe to my channel, click on the bell icon next to the subscribe button, and when you click on that, click on all so that you can get notified whenever I do new videos. Like the video if you liked it, comment on it if you have something interesting and meaningful to say. Likes and comments promote greater circulation. My contact information is in the description area, so if you'd like to reach out to me to inquire about prices for readings, or if you want me to make an easy-to-read version of your chart, you're welcome to do that as well. Okay, more to follow. I mean, I already have 3 odd videos worth of things that I need to talk about, so I think I'm getting back into the swing myself of using technology and fighting the rut that I was in for a week before the new moon to make sure that I use technology to get some epiphanic information out there. It's not that I haven't done it before, but it's here and I'm going to keep doing it. So thanks for the ride, and I will be back with this stuff tomorrow or day after.